Hello, fictional. Welcome to the crossover What Ifs. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got expelled by Jedi and got Harem? Part 2. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Jedi General Pong Krell is a proud man, a furious warrior and a ruthless general. A war hero, he was recognized as a man who could get a job done at any cost. However, his recent actions had led to the Jedi Order and the Grand Army of the Republic to become wary of him. His actions on Umbara had led to him being recalled back to the Jedi Temple for a re-evaluation. He was almost killed by the clones of the 501st due to him leading them to their deaths and showing no sympathy or concern for the clones who fell in battle. Under his leadership, the Republic suffered 60% casualties on Umbara, most of them due to his relentless tactics on the battlefield. He was saved by Obi-Wan and Skywalker just before he was supposed to be executed for treason and crimes against the Republic. He was re-evaluated and deemed fit to serve once more, but was demoted to a Jedi Knight. Now, here he was, leading the assault on Mandalore. This would be his chance to regain his honor and position as a Jedi Master. He had no love for the clones, he saw them as nothing more than tool to be used in war. He had no love for the Jedi either. Outwardly, he maintained the appearance of his ties to the Jedi and Republic, in secret he had embraced the dark side of the Force. He would never admit it, for if he did, he would be branded as a traitor and hunted down. While he didn't like clones, he knew they could be a very effective fighting force, and he did not want to have the Republic hunting him. "General Krell, we are entering the atmosphere," the captain of the ship said as he saluted the Jedi commander. Krell was known to be intolerable of insubordination and required a strict adherence to command from all of his soldiers, lest they be executed under the pretext of insubordination. None of the clones liked Krell before, but after his actions of Umbara the clones hated him. "Good, have the gunships ready to send a vanguard to secure the capital, the transport ship will follow after," Krell ordered, much to the shock of everyone on the bridge, but kept working. But sir, wouldn't it be best if we establish a foothold on the planet and along with a supply line and reinforce our positions before we head to the capital? The capital is surely to be heavily defended. The captain protested as many of the clones on the bridge went eyes wide. The captain must have had a death sentence, but he made fair points. Sending clone gunships with a handful of clones to take on the whole capital city was sure to be a suicide mission. Krell turned around and looked at the captain with anger in his eyes. "Tell me, Captain, who is the commander that was assigned to lead this invasion?" Krell questioned, spitting out the captain. The said captain was now sweating hard. "Well, sir, that would be you," the captain answered under the ruthless gaze of his commander. "Exactly, and as such you will follow my orders and keep your opinions to yourself," Krell ordered with a growl. He would not tolerate these clones from questioning his methods and orders. "Yes sir," the captain responded as he went on to give the order. He hated it. He was going to send his men to their deaths and he couldn't do anything about it. It was either get killed by the enemy or get killed by his commander. The captain of the ship was a clone trooper once, and his ability to lead an entire battalion into battle and win is what got him promoted to a captain. A clone as a captain of a ship was unheard of before, but it was possible, and as such, he was about to send his brothers to their deaths. Just as he was about to exit the bridge, the entire ship shook. The captain stumbled as he got back up on his feet and looked out to starboard and witnessed a separatist fleet right behind them. "We are under attack. Separatist warships have launched an attack behind us," one of the many yelled out as Krell growled. What were the separatists doing here? This wasn't their war. Now he had two choices, keep pushing to Mandalore or turn around and face the enemy. He chose turning around. "Turn the fleet around, we will deal with these separatists first and the Mandalorians second," Krell ordered as they all obeyed him. "General Krell, is that you? I see that you weren't executed for what you did on Umbara." Krell looked to find the origin of the voice, only to find the holodeck turned on and a hologram of the Mandalore, Naruto, standing there. The others in the bridge looked at the hologram as well. "So, I see that you have joined the separatist, traitor," Krell stated. Naruto just shook his head. "Wrong, I didn't join the separatists, I made my own droid army, but enough of that. It seems like the order deemed you fit to serve once more, how foolish of them," Naruto said with disappointment in his voice and on his face. Krell narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" he questioned as Naruto looked at him with a knowing look on his face. "The fact that you have embraced the dark side of the Force," Naruto answered, much to Krell's shock. He was sure that he had masked that aspect of him. The others looked at Krell with questioning looks. They all knew what the dark side of the Force was and what happened once someone had embraced it, and yet the council still allowed him to serve. Naruto looked at everyone in the bridge and observed their reactions. This was what he wanted. He was broadcasting the transmission to the entire Republic fleet and all over their ships. "Captain Rommel was it? You were a clone once and if I am correct you served under me once as well before your promotion." Tell me, do you really want to serve this man? Naruto questioned. The now named Captain Rommel thought about the question he was asked. He had no love for Krell, no one in the Republic did, and to be honest, he had no love for the Republic. They were seen as tools, not even living beings. Their own creators, the Kaminans, saw them as nothing more than lab rats. However, he felt it was his duty to defend those who could not defend themselves and fight to keep the galaxy at peace. He decided to grow a backbone for once and stand up for what he really believed in. No, I don't like serving under him, no one does. He answered. He knew Naruto and he had served under him once, many of his brothers had served under him once, and he was a true leader. He fought with everything in his mind. He put the safety of his men and civilians first than his own, and he believed that Naruto was innocent regarding the loss of his legion. Naruto smirked. Good answer. Now I will ask you another question, would you and your brothers be willing to join my side? Naruto questioned much to everyone's shock. He had just attacked them and now he was asking them to join him. Krell was not about to have any of that. You are a traitor and the enemy, even the clones know that, Krell stated. He shouldn't have said that, as the clones now grew angry. Naruto's smirk only grew bigger. Oh, this was turning out better than he hoped. He had recalled back the fighters and ordered a ceasefire. This was a perfect chance to get a Republic fleet to defect and join his faction. Really? Am I really the traitor? I fought for the Republic, I fought for my men, and I would have gladly thrown my life away if it meant saving a single soldier, and what was my reward? Betrayal. Betrayed the Republic and betrayed by my Jedi comrades. I extend my offer to all clones, the Republic is corrupt and evil, it is not what it seems. They will use you and discard you like trash. I know the life of a clone soldier. You all fight and fight, but never get a break, never allowed to have a life outside of a soldier's life. Is this what you all want? To live as nothing more than soldiers? What will happen when the war ends? The Republic Navy will be dismantled and decommissioned as it was long ago after the old Republic. What will you do then? Naruto questioned. He could feel the clones thinking, their faith in the Republic was crumbling. Good. You will all grow old and die due to the aging process you all go through. You will all die within a decade after the war is over. You won't be remembered as the heroes you are, but only as the clone army that had once fought. Is that what you want? To have the sacrifices of you and your brothers be forgotten? Naruto questioned them once more. He could see their answers written on their faces. Then I ask of you to join me. You all are Mandalorians, as the donor of your genes was a Mandalorian himself, and as such you are all Mandalorians. Not only that, but all have shared the same blood with myself, as the donor of your genes was my uncle. Join me and I shall grant you a real life. Naruto said as he could see the shock written all over their faces. He was related to them and for once he wasn't a clone. He was their nephew. He was family. Family, that word was so foreign to them. All they had was their own clone brothers as family, nothing else, yet at some point all of them had wondered what it was like to have a real family. He was offering them everything they had once wanted, but had pushed aside for the sake of serving the Republic. Join me, and together we can save the galaxy from this war that has waged on for long enough. We can put an end to the slaughter of your brothers and the innocent. Naruto proclaimed, and it was at this moment one of the greatest betrayals occurred in the history of the Republic and would forever be known as the betrayal at Mandalore. Krell looked around as the clones armed their weapons and slowly approaching him. He growled. Insubordinate bastards. I'll kill you all. Krell yelled as he pulled out his lightsabers and was ready to kill them all, but found himself the victim of a force choke. He looked back at Naruto as he was slowly lifted up. Do not threaten those belonging to my family, my people, or anyone else I associate with. Kill him. He said, ordered as the clones complied and aimed their blasters and let loose a rain of blue-colored lights, and with that done Naruto let the body of the now dead Jedi commander fall to the ground as the clones cheered. Finally, that bastard of a Jedi was dead. I welcome you all to Mandalore, your home. Naruto said through the transmission before ending it. Home, yes, Mandalore was their home, not Kamino. They might have been born on Kamino, but they were Mandalorian in every way. Being a Mandalorian was not a race, but rather a culture. Coruscant, a few hours later. Everyone was confident when they had heard that a sizable fleet was sent to free Mandalore, and even more so when they had heard that Krell would be leading the charge. Granted that he was not all that popular amongst the Jedi or the clone army, but he was well liked by the people, as many of them had similar views regarding the clones. In the Senate chambers there was a session going on regarding a new bill, but that session ended when the latest news on the Mandalore Liberation Force arrived. They all had cheered and were already congratulating themselves on a quick and rapid victory. However, the news they received was complete opposite. The Republic fleet sent to free Mandalore has defecated, were the words of one Anakin Skywalker. This was absurd. Sure, he had faced would-be defectors before in the clone ranks, but he had never seen a defection of this size and scale. A whole fleet just up and switched sides. Not only that, but Commander Krell was also executed by clones themselves. This was a disaster and a great blow to the morale of the Republic Navy. Not to mention that this also caused anti-clone riots to increase rapidly, and a rift began to form between the clones and the Republic. We didn't expect something like to happen, but it is troubling. Now he has a small fleet and battle-hardened soldiers at his command. Padme said as she looked around the small room and at her friend Satine. She was depressed again and was losing what little faith she had in the Republic quite rapidly. Troubling indeed. I will have to talk about this to Master Yoda and the other masters. We might need a larger force to free Mandalore now. Kenobi said as he stroked his beard. Satine sighed, this was all her fault and now thousands would die because of her. She had trusted the Republic to free her people, but it was so corrupt that even the clones sent to free Mandalore had defected. Who could she turn to now to help her free her people? Jedi Temple. I believe that we should join his side, Master. Alyssa stated as she talked to Shakti. During what free time they had done their own investigation and everything Naruto had said was true and now they began to rethink the Jedi Order itself. How can they help others in the galaxy if they isolate themselves? How can they understand people when they are told to suppress their emotions? It seemed like everything the Jedi were meant to do contradicted the Jedi code. How could there be peace without emotions? How could they be knowledgeable, yet be arrogant at the same time? How can one achieve serenity when they have no passion to achieve anything? How can they claim that there is no chaos when a brutal war rages on, yet they call it harmony? How can they claim that there is no death and only the Force, when in fact, death is very real? Everything she had learned about the Order was being put to the test. Patience, we must not make a decision in such a hasty manner. All will be revealed in due time. Master Shakti answered as Alyssa nodded, but deep down she wanted to join his side, that was what her heart wanted. The figure hidden in the shadows walked through the narrow hallways of his ship and entered his personal chambers before kneeling and bowing his head. Before him, the hologram activated and the hologram of man appeared before him. Though many of the features of the man were hidden, other than the large nose. Dooku, I hope you know what is going on in the galaxy. The man questioned darkly as the now identified Dooku raised his head. Yes, Master, I assume this is about Mandalore. Dooku answered and questioned at the same time as his master nodded. Indeed, Mandalore is of great value for our future plans. The moon of Mandalore and Mandalore itself holds great resources that have yet to be exploited, especially Mandalorian iron that would make our droid armies far more powerful than ever before. Not to mention that Mandalore is also a key system that lies in the mid-rim, effectively controlling trade and the only planet with dry docks, large enough to handle large ships, going from the inner rim worlds to the outer rims in the northeastern half of the galaxy. Dooku's master explained as Dooku nodded in his head, Mandalore would be critical if they wanted to establish supply lines. Not to mention that a new Mandalore has come to power and the fact that he has successfully prevented a Republic invasion of Mandalore. With each passing moment he grows stronger. Dooku, you must stop him at all cost. We cannot allow another faction to gain power to oppose both sides. He ordered Dooku. But Master, there are other planets and battlefields that require the attention of the droid army. We do not have the resources to launch an invasion of Mandalore. That was all Dooku said before his master silenced him. Enough. Your orders are clear, destroy this new Mandalore and take Mandalore. It should be even easier since Mandalore is no longer a neutral system and are an enemy of the Republic. They are fighting a two-front war, one they cannot win. Dooku's master ordered as Dooku bowed his head. Very well, it shall be done, Master. Dooku stated as the hologram deactivated. With his orders clear, Dooku stood up and left his chambers and headed to the bridge. He had to select a fleet commander for the fleet that would be sent to invade Mandalore, and he knew who to select. Coruscant. The Republic Council was in a panic. Mandalore's invasion had failed via immunity that led to a Jedi commander's execution. This raised concerns about other clones in the Republic army and gave fuel to those who wanted to get rid of clones and replace them with proper Republic army like those of the old Republic, but it would never be large enough as the clone army. Plus that would require increase in taxes for training new recruits since clones are already trained genetically and are genetically adapted to learn faster than others. New Mandalore, as people were calling it, was not even a threat as it had no military force to speak of that was large enough to defend itself, but after the failure of the Liberation Fleet to restore the old government. Now Mandalore had a fleet, a small fleet, but a fleet that consisted of crack clone troopers that were veterans of many battles, and many of them had been fighting since the start of the war and were starting to be called stormtroopers. However, that was the least of their worries. Many neutral systems started to support Mandalore, giving supplies, resources, ships and recruits. While officially they were not allied with Mandalore, unofficially they had an alliance, but the Republic couldn't do anything about them since they had no evidence of these neutral systems being in an alliance with Mandalore. The council chamber was filled with meetings almost every day now, and they all had a very good reason as to why they were concerned about Mandalore. Many times in the past, Mandalore had risen to power and waged brutal wars and crusades against the galaxy, and in one such war, Coruscant was sacked by Mandalorians. No one wanted Mandalorian crusaders going around sacking planets, and many of the planets within Mandalore's reach were allied with the Republic. "Don't worry Satine, Mandalore will be freed." Padme tried to comfort her friend, but it didn't seem to be working. "Free? The Republic failed and now that madman has an army," Satine stated. She had given up hope in the Republic and now she didn't know who to turn to. Padme frowned. The very man who had once fought to free Naboo had now become man who overthrew a government and took power. Deep down, she wondered if this was all her fault. Maybe it was because of her he was set upon this path. She was about to speak before Anakin rushed in. "You have to see this," he said as the two stood up and headed into the council chamber and there was hologram of Naruto, Mandalore the Exiled. Mandalore is an independent and free system, yet the Republic did not care and sent a fleet to liberate Mandalore. I ask you this, from whom did the Republic seek to free Mandalore? The Mandalorians themselves. This proves how the Republic has become corrupt to the core. They invade systems that cannot defend themselves by force, false flag operations, or though political bullying. Mandalore will not be subjected to such vile attempts, and we will fight to our last breath to defend our neutrality, however that neutrality was shattered by the Republic. They brought war to Mandalore, and war is what they shall have and as such, I hereby declare war on the Republic, an organization that uses clones as slave soldiers to fight battles for them. An organization that only cares for the rich star systems, while it leaves the poor and the less valuable systems defenseless. I urge the many clones across the many battlefields across the galaxy to look within themselves, I urge them to think for themselves and not as soldiers of the Republic. You all have Mandalorian blood and are descendants of Mandalore the Ultimate. By all rights you are citizens of Mandalore, not slaves of the Republic, and I urge you to join me to bring about an end to this corrupt and flawed galactic system that has only caused wars and leaves the weak to perish. Today will mark the beginning of the end for the Republic. Naruto proclaimed as many people gasped and started to mutter. This man he had just denounced the Republic. A political system that had lasted for tens of thousands of years. How could he so simply say that it was a failed system? Just then the hologram faded away and one of Palpatine's whispered something into his ear. "Order. Order." Palpatine ordered as people calmed down and turned towards him. The Chancellor seemed worried as to what he had just heard. "It is with grave news I tell you that multiple uprisings have occurred throughout the Mid-Rim worlds, all which have aligned themselves with Mandalore. I fear that a new faction has joined this war," the Chancellor stated as everyone gasped at the news that was delivered. Even Palpatine was seething in anger. This was not part of the plan. Now Dooku will have a harder time trying to take over Mandalore. It didn't help that many of those systems had fleets of their own and were very capable in defending themselves, however before action could be taken, the hologram came back on. This time it was Admiral Tarkin. "Chancellor, I have some grave news. I am receiving news that multiple clone divisions have rebelled against their commanding officers, along with many Republic ships that have mutinied. All in all we have lost so far 156 vessels, of which 46 are Venator-class star destroyers," the Admiral reported. "Great, even more bad news, but this was the worst of all. The Republic now lost thousands if not millions of soldiers. This was bad, and the Separatists would see this as a chance to attack the Republic. The Republic was now in disarray, and with the loss of so many soldiers and ships, it greatly reduced their operational capability. Meaning that they would have to withdraw from other minor systems and consolidate their forces within the more valuable systems, meaning they would have to leave many systems to their fate. The next few years would be known as the dark and final years of the Republic. This is chaos, the Republic is falling apart, and many of these senators will most likely withdraw from the Republic, since many of their systems will be abandoned," Padme said as she and her small group left the chamber. "I knew I couldn't trust the Republic. They failed, and now many will die as a result of this three-way war that Naruto has created," Satine stated. This was the end, and the Republic was now on a path of self-destruction. She noticed how Padme tensed up at the mention of Naruto's name. It seemed like Padme knew something that she didn't. "Padme, tell me, what was your relationship with Naruto?" she questioned as Padme now stopped and almost fell. "What do you mean my relationship with him?" Padme questioned. Satine narrowed her eyes, something was amiss. Padme knew something and she was not going to give up. "Tell me, Padme." She questioned. Padme looked around nervously before looking back at Satine, who clearly was not going to back down. "Well, it was a long time ago," she started. This was one story that she would regret telling. "With Naruto?" Naruto sighed as he sat on his throne. Managing a star system was quite taxing, but he handled it, though he smirked at his handiwork. He had waited a week to allow the anti-clone movement to grow by allowing them the chance to use the betrayal over Mandalore to their advantage and allow anti-clone prejudice to grow even more. The clones were now frowned upon by the people and even hated. This would make sure that the clones would have a clear choice to make when choosing sides. This was his main game. He wanted a large-scale rebellion from the clone army to occur to bolster his forces as he had few, but now he would have gained the forces required to defend his territory and expand. As he plotted, he spotted Bo entering the room, and it was then he remembered what had occurred a week ago and slightly blushed. Bo, how can I help you? He questioned. Damn it. Where the hell did that stutter come from? He then saw Bo smirk, and he gulped, oh dear, this was not good. So, Naruto care to go out for a date? She questioned as she walked up to him and sat on his lap. That did it for the poor bastard as his whole herd turned red. He had not forgotten that kiss, and he was quite reluctant to get into a relationship, but he knew that he had to move on. Sure. He answered. Bo smiled as she gave him another kiss before heading out. Great. Pick me up 2 hours from now. She said as she walked out, leaving a very embarrassed Naruto. Naruto gathered his emotions before sighing. That woman was going to be the death of him, though little did he know that there were others who would like to be the death of him. He then went back to plotting. His first action would be to bring the planet Tanab under his control. The world was home to several agricultural projects which created food used to feed billions of inhabitants of Mid-Rim and Outer Rim worlds. This conquest would provide Mandalore and every other Mid-Rim systems allied with Mandalore with a great source of food. It would also allow him to control a vital hyperspace line that ran all the way from Coruscant to Korriban. With the control of such a vital line, he could literally launch a direct attack on Coruscant, but that would have to wait. Tanab would have to fall first. Just then, another Mandalorian warrior walked in and kneeled before him. My lord, we have reports of Republic ships entering our system. They claim to be wanting to join our cause. The Mandalorian warrior said as Naruto nodded. Good, have them dock on Concordia. Naruto ordered as the Mandalorian warrior nodded, but it seemed that he had something more to say. Also, we have found his armor. Naruto's eyes widened. They had found his forefather's armor. Mandalore the ultimate armor was found. Good, where is it? He questioned as he noticed the warrior tense up. It appears that the stories about Death Revan taking the armor and mask were false, and it left on the planet Malachor V. Our scouting party was able to confirm that the armor and mask are on the planet, but due to the planet being strong with the dark side of the Force, and the fact that our ships aren't able to stay in the planet's orbit long enough due to its gravitational effects, we aren't able to retrieve it. The warrior answered as Naruto sighed. He had hoped that the armor and mask weren't on Malachor V. It was once a Sith stronghold, and like Korriban, it was strong with a dark side, not to mention the cataclysm caused by the mass shadow generator that destroyed the planet, turning it into a cracked and twisted wasteland. He would have to go there himself. Have my personal craft ready by tomorrow, I shall go there myself to retrieve it. Naruto said as the Mandalorian warrior nodded and went on to do as he was instructed. Naruto, however, had a date to get ready for. Naruto's ship jumped out of hyperspace and slowly approached Malachor V. Malachor V was nothing more than a wasteland of a planet. Once home to a Sith stronghold, it was reduced to a cracked and twisted wasteland thanks to the mass shadow generator that was used in the times of the Old Republic. Even with the planet and the system as a whole left in such a dead state, he could still feel the dark side of the Force oozing out of Malachor V. He suspected that the planet being a second home for the Sith caused the planet to be consumed by the dark side, and the use of the mass shadow generator, a weapon that tapped into the Force itself, left the planet in such a state. Korriban was just like it, only there was no mass shadow generator. Because Korriban was considered the home of the Sith, it is far more powerful with the dark side than Malachor V. He was, however, looking for something else. There. He said in his mind as he spotted a very old destroyed Mandalorian battlecruiser. It was falling apart, but he was surprised to find it still in good condition. Putting on his space gear, he opened the beep pit of his fighter and made his way towards the battlecruiser. Once entering it, he started to search the bridge all the while feeling the dark side trying to seduce him, but he ignored it as he kept on searching, and then when he reached the bridge, he found what he was looking for. But this, Mandalore will truly be reborn. He thought. Mandalore a few hours later. Sir, we have a problem. A clone reported to the Admiral Rommel as he viewed over the large fleet of former droid and Republic ships. They were now the first Mandalorian fleet. What's wrong? Rommel questioned. Everything was going well for now. Two fleets had entered the system. One of Separatists and the second is the Republic, both are large. The clone reported. Rommel raised an eyebrow. Were the Republic and Separatists working as one to stop Mandalore? Have the fleet take planetary defensive formation. We won't let a single troop transport through our defense. Rommel stated as the two hostile fleets approached from two different directions. Enemy fighters are heading our way, there has to be about at least 1,000 of them. Another clone reported as the swarm of fighters, mixed with bombers, could be seen. Do not fear. Intensify the forward shields, launch our fighters. Order the fleet to slowly start to reverse into the planet's atmosphere, the planetary shield will keep us safe. Rommel ordered as all available fighters launched. It was strange. Since the start of the war, they had fought the droid army, and now they were fighting alongside them. He watched as fighters from both sides began to engage each other, as laser blasts were lighting up the dark space like fireworks. He noticed that the enemy fleets were getting closer and closer to him and to each other. Then, the Separatists' fleet opened fire at the Republic fleet. The Republic fired back, and soon they both started to engage each other. I guess we should count ourselves lucky, seems like they've started to fight with each other. Have some of our droid frigates take up a flanking position and hold. Bring the rest of the fleet to a halt. He ordered as 6 droid frigates began to move right of the fleet. As the two fleets got closer and closer, the 6 frigates started to appear as if they were almost behind the 2 fleets. Good, now then, have the fleet push forward, fire and will. He ordered as the rest of the fleet began to head straight into the battle and began to unleash barrage after barrage of turbo lasers at the 2 fleets. Some of the smaller ships tried to retreat, but the 6 frigates stopped them. The battle went on, and the hostile fleet started to take heavy damage. Soon, the command cruisers began to turn around. Sir, a few of the enemy ships are warming up their hyperdrive, they are trying to escape. A clone reported. Let them go, we need to conserve our forces. Rommel ordered as the few enemy command cruisers jumped away. The rest of the 2 fleets tried to escape, but many of them were destroyed and some of them surrendered. The battle was over and the winner was Mandalore once again. He quickly began to order the fleet back into formation and recalled the fighters. The enemy was broken and now would think twice when they attacked Mandalore. Not to mention that the Republic suffered heavy losses. Sir, we have unknown ships exiting out of hyperspace. A clone officer yelled out, another attack again, and so soon. Turning around to look out the bridge, he spotted about 30 ships jump out of hyperspace. They were strange-looking ships. They were about 800 meters long and looked very much like Republic attack cruisers. However, the difference was that the ship was split down the center with 2 hangars in the end. Sir, we have an incoming transmission from the unknown fleet. A clone officer reported. Put it through. Rommel nodded. Admiral Rommel. Naruto's voice echoed through the bridge as he bowed. My lord. Rommel said with a bow. Do not fear, my friend. The fleet before you is an old fleet that once belonged to an ancient empire. Naruto said as Rommel raised an eyebrow. If I may ask, my lord, what is the class of those ships? Rommel questioned as Naruto nodded. These ships are all Harem-class dreadnoughts. They are old, meaning they are inferior to many of today's ships, however, they will make for good hit-and-run tactics. Naruto explained. Really? It's like the Republic Crusaders are based off of their designs, Rommel commented. They wedge-like shape looked very similar to Republic Crusaders. I found this old fleet during my journey. The ships were abandoned and many are in poor condition. They will need repairs before they are battle-worthy. Naruto stated, to which Rommel nodded. Those ships look like they were going to fall any second. Wait, how did you get them all here? Rommel questioned. If those ships were unmanned, how was he able to get them all to get here? Simple, I was able to rewire their navigation computers to my personal ship and was able to control every ship manually through my ship. It was easy to do since the navigation computers on these ships are very simple as they are outdated by quite a bit. Speaking of outdated, we will also need to rearm these ships and modernize them. Naruto said as Rommel nodded again in understanding. Very well, I shall have the ship sent to the appropriate shipyards to carry out the repairs and refitting. Rommel said with a bow. By the way, why is there a whole bunch of destroyed ships floating around? Naruto questioned as Rommel sighed. Well, you see. With the Republic. We sustained heavy losses. Our transports were wiped out, along with many of our cruisers. A few of our command cruisers escaped. Anakin reported with a fallen look on his face. The second battle to liberate Mandalore was by far the worst battle in the Republic Navy. Not a single enemy ship was destroyed or damaged, and the losses on their sides were massive. We lost well over 40,000 clone troopers. Not only that, but it appears the Separatists were also trying to take Mandalore for themselves, on the same day no less. They engaged us as soon as we were in range. Obi-Wan reported as he stood next to Anakin. Unacceptable, these losses are. Losing more troopers, we cannot afford. Yoda commented as everyone nodded. With a large majority of the Republic Navy and clone army switching sides, the Republic was low on manpower. As such, many smaller systems and worlds were abandoned, left to fend for themselves. We have to retake Mandalore at all cost. We cannot allow former Padawan Naruto to gain any more time than he has already achieved. If he is able to consolidate his forces and gain allies, he could become a threat greater than the Separatists. Mace Windu stated. He was adamant in regaining Mandalore. Master Windu is correct. Mandalore lies in a strategically important position, having access to many hyperspace lanes. We cannot allow the Mandalorians to use the hyperspace lanes for their own advantage. We must mount another assault on Mandalore. Chancellor Palpatine stated as Kenobi shook his head. With all due respect, we have lost many ships and men, both of which could have been better spent on strengthening our front lines. The largest enemy we have to face is the Separatists. I fear that they are growing stronger due to the Republic leaving many systems. Kenobi stated as they all nodded at that. Separatists. General Grievous growled as he slammed his fist onto one of his loyal droids. The mission was a failure. The battle for Mandalore was lost before his ships could even fire a shot at the Mandalorian fleet. Damn you Kenobi. Grahh. Grievous growled. If only that Republic fleet wasn't there, then he would have crushed those Mandalorians. General Grievous, if Grievous could still roll his eyes, he would have. He turned around to find the hologram of Dooku. Hound, what do you want? Grievous questioned. He was not in a good mood. Dooku narrowed his eyes and released a bit of his force. Grievous backed down. He was strong, but he wasn't foolish. How did the battle go? The Count questioned as Grievous gulped, if he could have that is. We lost the battle. Grievous answered as he could feel the pressure. The Count was angry. How? He questioned as Grievous gave him all the details about the battle. Dooku sighed. He wasn't expecting the Republic to attack at the same time. It doesn't matter for now. Your job now is take the systems the Republic left. There are untold riches we can extract from them. Dooku said before he ended the transmission. Grievous growled once more. Indeed, Grievous wasn't a happy general. With Naruto. I see Naruto trailed off as he stared into the nothingness of space. He closed his eyes and took in a deep breath. The Separatists will try again, but not anytime soon. However, the Republic will try again. Therefore, we must put a stop to them. I have chosen the planet Tanab to be our first target. The Republic will defend this planet as it feeds countless core and mid-core systems. It is the source of trillions of inhabitants. Taking it will cut off the supply of food for many core and mid-core systems. The Republic and the Separatists will be forced to come to the negotiation table, as many of their allied systems will revolt as a result of starvation. Naruto said as Rommel nodded. It would bring a quick end to the war, not to mention that the Republic has lost much of its fleet. I suggest we also start capturing or destroying trade convoys. That will speed up things. Rommel suggested as Naruto nodded. He knew that Mandalore at its current state could not withstand a full-scale invasion from both sides. He needed to end this war first and build up his forces. By the way, did you find the armor? Rommel questioned as Naruto grinned a bit and walked away. Rommel raised his eyebrow. Did he miss something? With Naruto a few hours later. Naruto had called for a speech as people gathered in the massive courtyard below the platform that he would stand on to give his speech. The warships defending Mandalore were filled with clones and Mandalorians alike, looking at small screens, trying to catch a glimpse of the coming speech. Naruto, however, was dressing up in the armor of his ancestor. Bo whistled as she watched him put on the armor. I have to say, I have only known about that armor through its legend, but actually seeing it, well, it looks a lot more frightening and powerful. She commented, dressed in her own Mandalorian battle armor. She was his personal bodyguard and that was shown through the red and black coloring of her armor. Yes, when I found it, it was shrouded in dark energy. This armor is not your average armor, it is a symbol that represents the might of Mandalore and the Mandalorian people. He said. He was about to put the mask on, but was stopped by Bo. He looked at her as she smiled and closed in for a quick kiss. For luck. She said as she let go of his hand. He nodded with a small smile and put on his mask. Bo followed his example as she slid her helmet on. With that, the two proceeded to walk out onto the large platform where many other guards waited for them. Naruto walked forward. The crowd silenced and waited for their leader to begin his speech. People of Mandalore, he began, his voice altered a bit due to the mask. For too long you have been shunned, oppressed, and conquered by those who feared you. We were once a proud people. Our warriors the best of the best, our people the bravest of the bravest, but look at us now. Reduced to nothing more than peace-loving fools that would welcome the enemy rather than resist. You all know of the Death Watch, a group of fanatics who seized power to rule over you with an iron fist. They existed and they were allowed to exist due to the Duchess. He spoke as people murmured and nodded alone. Why was Death Watch not eliminated? The old government was well aware of them. Are we so weak that we allow other powers to push us around? Have we not been humiliated enough in the many centuries that have passed since our fall from glory? How much of our territory was stolen away from us, given away to other systems to prevent Mandalore from becoming a great power? When would you rise up and say no more? He questioned as people began to shout and agree with him. Mandalore had suffered enough from the major powers and neighboring systems. He took a while, looking at the crowd of people. Then pointed towards his armor. This armor was once a great symbol of power, one that rallied the many Mandalorian clans and species of the galaxy to forge the greatest culture and warriors the galaxy has ever seen. Where are those warriors now? He questioned as everyone knew what he was talking about. Mandalore had fallen from its glory days long ago. I extended an offer for peace to the Republic in their answer. A fleet sent to eliminate me, you, the people of a proud warrior race. The Republic cares little for peace. They want nothing more than absolute control over every system in the galaxy. To govern them as they see fit. Who are they to say what is right and what is wrong? Naruto questioned as many shouted down with the Republic or death to the Republic. The separatists are also similar, they seek to conquer and rule. They care not if others suffer. My people. Sons and daughters of Mandalore, it is time we rise. It is time we take up arms. It is time we retake what was rightfully ours. It is time that Mandalore is reborn into the Mandalorian Empire. If the Republic and the Separatist can't say what is right and wrong, then so can we. We shall unite the galaxy under a single banner. A banner that will be the beacon of hope for those who have lost it. It shall be a deterrent for those who have no other recourse. It is time we push on the offensive and tell our would-be conquerors that the days when Mandalore would bow to them are long gone. This is a new Mandalore, a Mandalore that will be forged in blood and steel. Naruto said as the people began to chant for Mandalore. They had a new leader now, one who was willing to use force to protect his people. This wasn't just your average government change, this was the beginning of a revolution that would bring about an empire that would last for thousands of years to come. Naruto observed a fleet that was assembled just above Mandalore. For the past few weeks, many of the exiled Mandalorian clans that were exiled long ago from Mandalore now began to become more active. They started to raid trade routes, attacked Republican separatists' vessels, space stations, outposts and more. Not only that, but quite a few systems began to either revolt or leave the Republic or the separatists. This left the two major factions in chaos. The Republic was unable to put down these revolts due to the lack of manpower. The separatists did have the manpower, but their manpower was for the lack of better term ineffective. Turns out, separatist program droids are quite stupid, no surprise there. However, there was something he needed to do first. If his plan was to succeed, then it would deliver a knockout blow to the Republic. Sir, the fleet is ready. A clone reported. His armor was of Mandalorian look and descent. He had ordered that the clone armor be replaced to avoid confusion between friend and foe. Make the jump. Naruto ordered. Immense precision hyperspace jump. The clone ordered Naruto's flagship and a few others made the jump. The crew was quite nervous and they had the right to be. Precision hyperspace jumps were quite dangerous to attempt and required skilled pilots to pull them off, even with gravity wells. They could all see the light pass by them, however they could also see that their ships were started to slow down until they exited out of the hyperspace and zoomed past the Republic defenses and stopping right behind them. Right, launch the fighters to engage enemy vessels, send bombers and gunship to secure a foothold the planet's surface. Bring the ships around to face the enemy defense platforms, we must disable them first. Naruto ordered as the hangars opened and launched fighters, while the ships began to turn to face the Republic vessels. Sir, the Republic ships are moving on us, orders. The clone questioned as Naruto hummed. Not yet, let them come closer. Naruto said as he thought back to his plan. Flashback. Naruto observed everyone in the war room. It consisted of high-ranking officers, Rommel and Bo. Everyone was here for one reason. Now that everyone's here, let's begin. Admiral, if you will. Naruto gestured towards Rommel, who nodded and turned on the holodeble located in the center of the war room. It turned on to show on blue and green planet with a large presence of Republic forces. This is the planet Tonab and is one of the key planets we must control if we are to have leverage over the Republic. As most of you know, the planet produces food for countless worlds throughout the galaxy, and most of the food is consumed by systems under Republic control. If we can capture this planet, we can force the Republic to come to the negations tables. Rommel stated as many nodded. But what about the Republic forces stationed there? We don't have the manpower to take them all on. One of the officers questioned. Everyone, again, nodded at that. The Republic still outnumbered them. The Admiral and I have come up with a plan for that. Bo said as Naruto raised an eyebrow. Oh? Let's hear it. He said as she nodded before pressing a few buttons and bringing up a few ships. It's a risky strategy, but we can have a few our ships precision jump behind the Republic forces, forcing them to turn around and face the attacking forces. This will cause them to break formation and engage our forces, however, we can use this opportunity too. She said as she pressed a few more buttons, bringing up the hologram of more ships. They hit the enemy where it hurt them the most, their rear. You are aware of how the Republic ships worked, they most focused their defenses and armor on the front as they were made primarily for offensive operations. Their rear is weaker and less armored. Rommel finished for her. What about nearby Republic fleets? I don't think that the Republic will just sit back and watch as they lose a valuable planet. Naruto questioned as everyone frowned. Don't worry, they will be busy handling the assault on Coruscant. Bo answered as she smirked. She proceeded to elaborate her plan. Flashback end. Dumping asteroids in Coruscant's orbit with stealth composites. That will send the Republic on a goose chase, trying to find each and every asteroid to make sure they won't fall on the planet's surface. Naruto stated. Bo had contacted a few Mandalorian clans and had scraped up a large transport fleet. The fleet would carry asteroids that would be dumped in Coruscant's orbit. Not only that, but the stealth composites and false launches would mean that the Republic would have no idea how many asteroids were there, their size and so on. It would mean that the Republic would have to clear out the asteroid cloud above Coruscant to be cleared first, in fear of them falling to the planet's surface. Not only that, but the attack would draw more attention as Coruscant was the center, the heart of the Republic. Order Admiral Rommel to commence his attack. Naruto ordered as the message was carried out, and no sooner had his ships had destroyed a few defense platforms, leaving gaps in the enemy defenses, Rommel's fleet jumped out of hyperspace. The second fleet began to open fire as fast attack vessels harassed the Republic vessels. Caught unprepared, the Republic fleet began to cluster into a single point, unknowingly allowing the enemy to surround them. Their escape was cut off, their defenses had failed, and now they were surrounded. They only hoped that a nearby fleet could save them. Coruscant. What do you mean we can't go? Anakin questioned, annoyed that the guards wouldn't let him take off the planet to his command ship in orbit. Unknown ships just dumped asteroids in the orbit, sir. We don't know how many they are, but we don't know the amount of them or their location. Ships are prohibited from leaving or entering the system. The clone trooper said as he stood in front of the Chosen One. Anakin growled as his narrowed. That's not going to help, Anakin. Master Yoda has called us to a meeting, come now. Obi-Wan said as Anakin once again growled and went along with Obi-Wan. What did Master Yoda? Lately, there have been quite a lot of meetings, mostly about how to best deal with the Jedi-turned-Mandalore. Arriving in the council room, they quickly took their seats and waited till the rest of the high-ranking Jedis to arrive. Soon, everyone had arrived and took their seats. Now that everyone has arrived, let us begin. Mace Windu stated as they looked towards Master Yoda. Invaded, Tanab has been. Master Yoda began as everyone gasped. Then we must send reinforcements to Tanab at once. Anakin yelled out as everyone nodded in agreement. That would not be wise. The enemy assault has left Coruscant vulnerable to a follow-up attack. We have to call many of our fleets in defense of Coruscant in case of an attack. Windu stated as Anakin looked at him as if he was crazy. That would leave many of our allied systems defenseless. We must go on the offensive and prevent the fall of Tanab. Anakin once again voiced an opinion. The other masters gave him a concerned look. We would, but like Master Windu stated, Coruscant is vulnerable to attack. We cannot risk leaving it undefended. Master Shakti stated, however, even if they were to go on the offensive, she would most likely join Naruto, as she couldn't find the will to take up arms against the boy who she saw as a son. But we can't just sit here and do anything. Anakin is right, we need to send forces to reinforce the defense of Tanab. Failure to do so will show weakness to the other systems of our inability to protect them. Obi-Wan said as many nodded. Recently, many systems under Republic protection began to question the ability of the Jedis and the Republic to defend them. Know this, we do. Send Master Ayla Sakura, we will. Master Yoda said as everyone turned to him. Are you sure that is wise? Master Ayla's fleet is crucial for the conquest of Felucia. Her fleet has been making great headway into enemy territory. We cannot simply abandon the territory we have taken. Kit Fisto questioned, that was a valid point. Victory is built upon the back of sacrifice. We cannot let Tanab fall as it is a crucial part of the war effort. It keeps billions fed, and if lost, many systems will most likely want us to negotiate with Mandalore. Mace stated as many nodded grimly. So, you're just gone throw away the territory we have gained. Many clones died for it, and you're going to throw it all away. Why can't you simply send one of the fleet stationed here? Anakin again voiced his concern. Again, everyone looked at him with a concerned look. That's enough, Anakin. Coruscant is the heart of the Republic, and if it falls, the war is lost. This is war, we have to make hard choices sooner or later. Obi-Wan reprimanded his former student. Anakin grumbled as he conceded. Then it is decided, Master Ayla will be sent to defend Tanab. May said as they soon contacted Ayla and gave her the mission. As she was being briefed, she spotted Shakti sending her discreet look, and she knew what it meant. Understood, masters, I will do as commanded. She bowed before the hologram shut off. Shakti observed as everyone began to leave. It seems like I must speed up my plans. It's a good thing too that my fleet is in orbit. If I know Naruto, then there aren't many asteroids in orbit. I better hurry. She thought as she stood up and quickly made her way to the hangar. The Order be damned, it was not what it used to be. Jedi were supposed to be protectors of peace, not generals, but then again, she was still going to be fighting in the war, just for another side. Naruto was like a son to her, and she was not going to stand by and do nothing as two powers sought to kill him. She even knew about Padme and him. She didn't realize it before, but she hated Padme for hurting him the way she did. She will get what's coming to her. She thought as she entered the hangar and started to approach her personal starfighter. However, before she could board it, she was stopped by a guard. "Ah, General, I am not sure if you know, but all traffic is being grounded," the clone stated as he stopped her. Shakti frowned as she started to use the force. "You will allow me to pass," she stated as the clone stiffened up. "I will let you pass," he said as he moved aside to let her pass. She boarded her fighter, but before she took off, she looked at the guard. "Oh, and you will forget this ever happened," she said as she took off. In the beep pit, she turned on the hologram. The hologram turned on to show a clone commander. "Commander Fives, I am on my way, have the fleet ready for Operation Exodus," she ordered as the clone commander nodded. "Roger that, General." Fives responded as the hologram turned off. Ground control. Some might say that ground control was the laziest job you could ever find, a desk job really. However, what no one knew was that it was the hardest and the most important job. Managing the space traffic and guiding vessels. However, it was a boring job. Nothing exciting happened, but when it did, it got pretty hectic. "Sir, there is a Jedi starfighter is leaving the temple hangars and heading out," an officer stated as he turned to the commander in charge of the post. The commander walked up and pressed a button. "This is ground control to Jedi starfighter, turn around at once. I repeat, turn around at once. All traffic is currently grounded," the commander ordered. "Unfortunately, I can't do that ground control," Shakti responded as she sped her fighter up. "Turn around at once or we will be forced to fire at you," the commander stated, but once again he was ignored. With Naruto. Naruto looked on as the battle raged on. Destroyed Republic ships floated through the dark space stations that were supposed to defend the planet were all but destroyed. The whole defense fleet was all but destroyed. "Sir, we have an incoming Republic fleet entering the system," an officer stated as Naruto turned towards the Republic ships that dropped out of hyperdrive and frowned. "So, they sent you Ayla," he said to himself. He didn't want to fight her, but if it came down to it, then he would have to. "Send word to the Admiral's fleet to reorganize. We have a new target. Also, order the transport ships to begin landing operations," Naruto ordered as he turned to look towards the incoming fleet. He felt conflicted. He didn't want to fight, but it seemed like he had no other choice. "Sir, the incoming fleet is sending a message on an open channel," an officer reported as Naruto raised an eyebrow. What could Ayla want? "Put it through," he ordered as he turned around and walked up to the holodable that was on the bridge. Soon, the hologram of Ayla appeared. "If it's a surrender you are looking for, then you are wasting your time," he said as Ayla shook her head. "No, I am not even here to fight you in the first place, I am here to join you," she stated as Naruto's eyes widened. Why would she do this? She was loyal to the Order and the Republic, so why would she do it? "Why? This would surely mean that you will be hunted by the Order," he stated as she nodded. "Let them hunt me. I won't fight for a faction that cares only for those who have the means to provide wealth. The Jedi were meant to be peacekeepers for all, not just the wealthy. That, and the Order has lost its way. It is not the Order that I learned of while growing up," she answered as Naruto slowly nodded. She was right, the Jedi had lost what it meant to be a Jedi. "I see. What about the chips inside your clone's head? Have they been removed?" he questioned. He was ready to welcome all the help he could get, but if they were clones, he wanted the chips inside their heads removed. He didn't want his own soldiers turning on him. "They have been removed and I had them examined further. It seems like the chips were more than just inhibitor chips. They contained many different codes, one of them was called Order 66. She answered with a frown. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that. He knew that the chip was meant to control the clones, but he didn't know what exactly was on them. "Order 66? He questioned. "Order 66 would cause the clones to label the Jedi as enemies of the Republic and proceed to kill them. It seems like the Sith Lord had plenty of time to plan the war and the orders out," she answered as Naruto hummed. It would make sense to make clones kill the Jedis, since many of the clones would be stationed near high-profile Jedis. "This is disturbing news. Anyway, I'll have your fleet orders soon," Naruto said as Ayla nodded, understanding that he was in command. "Also, Master Shakti will also be joining us soon," she said as once again Naruto raised an eyebrow. "So, she has also left the Order?" Naruto questioned as Ayla nodded. "Yes, she called in a few minutes ago and had departed with her fleet from Coruscant, though she did state that few Republic ships are going after her." She has chosen to take a different route in order to evade the pursuing ships. She said as she brought up map of the route Shakti was taking. She's heading to a system near Ord Mantell. Naruto questioned. Yes, there is a system near Ord Mantell. It's a rather isolated system as it contains a planet that hasn't reached the technological level of spaciflight. She confirmed as Naruto hummed. She's trying to lose the Republic ships and taking the long route to Mandalore. She is going to need some help. Ayla, you're in charge here now. Naruto said as he began to issue orders to his crew. Ayla merely raised an eyebrow. Why am I in charge? She questioned. I am going to assist Master Shakti. He simply said as he started to give out orders. Are you sure that is wise? I assume that your forces are already stretched too thin. Ayla questioned. Naruto nodded. While our forces are stretched to the limit, the Republic won't be attacking. They are too busy trying to hunt down Master Shakti. As far as the Republic knows, Master Shakti was a spy from the start. I am sure that the GD or any other Republic force won't try to leave Coruscant since they would believe that she knew where the asteroids were. They won't risk it, so most of the Republic fleets don't have a GD general with them. They won't carry out an attack. Naruto explained as she slowly nodded. Then I guess I will be holding the system down then. May the force be with you. She said, ending the transmission. Jump to light speed. Naruto ordered as his flagship, along with 2 Venator-class star destroyers, jumped to light speed, racing to the system near Ord Mantell. Commander Wolf, what do we know of this untouched system? Naruto questioned the commander. The commander was a veteran clone who had seen many battles. His armor was that of an ARC trooper, with a black coloring. Wolf has served from the first battle of the Clone Wars and through. He was an excellent commander, known to use pack tactics to divide and destroy the enemy, a wolf-like personality. Sir, the system is known as Sieg and it has no important strategic value. It is not connected to any major hyperspace lane and lacks resources that would define it as a valuable system. The only people who use this system would be smugglers. It's a longer route, but they can avoid authorities that way. Wolf stated as Naruto hummed. How do you know so much about this system, Commander? Naruto questioned. The knowledge Wolf had was quite extensive. I was part of a recon team sent to scout out the system. We concluded that taking the system would be a waste of resources, that and the local human species of the region would not take kindly to their system being integrated into the Republic, not like they are aware of any life in the galaxy other than themselves. Wolf answered. He had seen that system and quite frankly, the humans of that world were too busy killing each other that they failed to realize that they are not alone. I see, well then, it's good to have you on board. Have the boarding parties ready. Naruto ordered as Wolf saluted before heading out of the bridge. Have the fighter pilots ready for launch, once we exit light speed, have them go on the offensive. Naruto ordered as the officers nodded and sent out the command. Naruto turned towards the viewport. Just hang in there for a little while, he hoped that he wouldn't be too late. Master Shakti. Shakti cursed as her ship shook. She had tried to throw off the Republic ships, but it seemed like they didn't take her defection too kindly. The ship rocked again. General, we lost 50% of our shields. The Dauntless has lost 3 of its engines and can't take much more damage. The Defender has lost all its shields and is taking heavy fire. Commander Fives reported as he held on to something as the ship shook again. Have the Dauntless and Defender to make the jump. We will draw the enemy fire to us. She ordered. But General, we don't have the firepower or the numbers to defeat the enemy fleet. Fives said back. They were outnumbered and had lost their hyperdrive. I know, Commander, but I have faith, now tell them to retreat. She ordered as Fives nodded and sent out the order. Soon, the 2 damaged ships jumped away and escaped while her command ship provided covering fire. Evasive maneuvers, try to avoid the incoming enemy fire. Shakti ordered as the ship began to turn around, but then shook violently. Our engines have been hit. An officer shouted out as the ship started to descend into the planet. General. We have been caught in the planet's orbital pull. The ship's going to crash. An officer reported as the ship started to enter the planet's atmosphere. It started to slowly heat up from the bottom as it entered the atmosphere. Then all of a sudden there were alarms going off. 3 new starships have entered the battlefield. An officer reported. Shakti was now worried. Maybe this was the end. Incoming transmission, should I patch it through? One of the officers questioned. Shakti slowly nodded. Master Shakti, what is your status? She sighed in relief. She knew who that was. My ship has been caught in the planet's orbit and I fear we are going to crash. We will try to crash land the ship, but as long as these Republic ships are attacking us the odds are slim. She reported as Naruto nodded. Very well, I'll drive away the enemy fleet, you just focus on landing that ship as safely as possible. He said, ending the transmission. Was that General Naruto? Fives questioned. He had served under him a few months back and damn was Naruto a fine general. Cool-headed and calm, the man put the lives of his men before his own. During the short time he had served under him, he had seen Naruto in action many times. He remembered that at one point he had carried out a mission to save one of his men. He carried out a mission to save the life of one clone. To many, clones were expendable, but it was evident that Naruto didn't see it that way. Yes, he has arrived. Let him deal with Republic fleet, we have to focus on getting this ship on ground. Have all hands brace for impact. She ordered as crew began to maneuver the ship so that it could survive the crash. But Naruto. Sir, the enemy fleet hasn't noticed our arrival. An officer stated as Naruto sighed. They were again showing the rear side of their ships. When will they realize that it's that weakest point of the ship? Cripple the ships, use ion cannons and have boarding parties capture them. He ordered. He needed more ships, so he opted to use a different approach. Instead of outright destroying enemy ships, he was going to capture them. It would not only add ships to his fleet, but also allow his fleet to become proficient in capturing ships. Destroying ships was easy, but capturing them was harder. Ion cannons started to open fire at the gun turrets of the ships and the bridge, shutting them down, while heavy turbo blasters knocked out one or two of the engines to cripple them. They even blasted holes in the side hangars that were closed, allowing for the boarding ships to land. Naruto had his mind on something else. Update on Master Shakti's ship. He ordered as the officers quickly gained the information they needed. The general's ship is descending faster than expected, it seems like all of their engines have been knocked out. They have maneuvered the ship as much as they could, but they will survive according to the crash trajectory. An officer reported as Naruto nodded. Very good, have the gunships ready. Have the 32nd Engineering Battalion ready up, they are going on a repair mission. Naruto ordered as the officer looked at. Sir, are you sure that the ship will be space-worthy after it crashes? The officer questioned. Naruto smirked. Knowing Master Shakti, it will be. Naruto answered as he looked back to her ship as it descended further and further. But Shakti. General, you have to get to the escape pod. The ship won't survive. 5 urged her, but all Shakti did was closing her eyes and was meditating. The Force shall guide us, Commander. She said as the ship's light rocked. 5s could feel something was going on. Looking at Shakti, he saw that there was sweat building up on her forehead. She's using the Force. I've seen the Jedis use Force before, but to guide a whole ship. That's insane. He thought as the bridge crew ran around like headless chickens. He looked out the bridge viewport and saw that they were about to hit. He quickly ran over to a command console and pressed a button on it. Brace for impact. He yelled, warning the whole ship. He held on to something. I hope that Force can't save us now, he thought as the ship made impact. He was thrown forward and crashed into one of the chairs. Shakti, however, held her ground. The ship skidded across the land, leaving a large trail behind it. It crashed through forests, hills and even a small mountain, before it slowly came to a halt. Are you alright, Commander? Shakti asked with a smile as she looked at 5s, who slowly stood up, albeit with pain. Yeah, I don't like crash landings, he answered as he quickly took off his helmet and threw up his lunch. Guess he shouldn't have eaten that meal before the battle. Let us hope we do not go through another one. She said as 5 nodded to that. General, our scanners are picking up unknown elements heading our way. An officer said as he slowly stood up and looked down at the scanner, showing multiple dots heading their way. Shakti hummed before looking at 5. It seems like you're about to see some action, Commander. She said with a small smile. 5 sighed at that. Me and my big mouth, he responded. Oh yes, this was not his day at all. General, are those some new kind of droids? 5s questioned as he looked through the binoculars at the unknown force. They were strange. They were large machines, with arms and legs, though it seemed like they used some kind of wheel system to move around. There were also humans as well. So, were they allies of the separatists? I don't think so, Commander, I can feel life forms in those machines. I think they are the pilots. Shakti answered. They had turned the bridge of the ship into a command position. From there, they could give out orders and have an advantage since they could look down at the enemy. Do you think they will attack? 5s questioned. He welcomed a fight, but the crew was in no condition to fight. They might. The engineers sent by Naruto are already at work trying to get the engines back up. She replied. Naruto had informed that he was still locked in battle above in space, though it seemed like the battle was getting closer and closer. It seems like the enemy was keen on destroying her ship. Now it had turned into a chase, with Naruto was chasing the enemy ship that was heading towards her. General, they are sending someone under a white flag. 5s reported as she turned to look down at who was coming. It was a young lady with purple hair. She was dressed like a royal, but also had the confidence of a soldier. Next to her were 2 men, one was quite well built, while the other one was of average build, though the 2 seemed like good enough fighters. She stood up and started to make her way down, followed by 5s. Orders, General? 5s questioned as they took the turbo lift down. Let's hear what they have to say first, we cannot simply attack everything unknown. She answered. If there was a chance she could avoid an armed conflict, then she would take it. She wouldn't let another one of her men die today. Along the way, they had a translator droid follow them. She was sure that these people didn't speak the galactic standard language. She and her group exited through the hangar and waited until the unknown stood right a few feet away from them. Then the lady started to speak. My name is Cornelia Lee Britannia, second princess of the Britannian imperial family. I have come to aid you, however, we would like to know who you are. The droid translated. Shakti knew that this wasn't out of kindness. My name is Shakti, a Master Jedi, and this is Commander Fives. While we appreciate your need to help us, there is no need. Help is already on the way. Shakti replied with a smile as the droid translated. She could feel the displeasure the young lady gave off. I suggest you take our offer, otherwise I would not be able to stop my soldiers. The droid translated as Shakti chuckled. She knew what they wanted. They wanted the technology and they thought they could get it by being all friendly with her. No thanks. She was about to reply before a gunship landed behind her. The side doors opened and out walked Naruto with a few clones. The clones leveled their rifles at the other group as Naruto walked up to Shakti. Master Naruto said as he kneeled before her. Now this might have shocked many of his people. The great Mandalore bowing to a Jedi. Shakti was not his master, but she did train him for a while. She was like a mother to him. Teaching him things that a child should know, the right and wrongs and so on. Shakti smiled before bringing him up. There is no need to bow, young one. You have surpassed me and are a leader in your own right. You are no longer that youngling I met all those years ago. Shakti replied with a tone that only a mother could have. But I failed, I couldn't save my fellow comrades. They died because I was too weak. I failed them as I failed you, master. He stated as he looked down with closed eyes. He could still remember how he failed to save the lives of his legion, how they were all wiped out. They were more than just clones to him, they were a family. That was not of your doing and you couldn't have seen it coming. They died fighting and I am sure that they wouldn't want you to grieve over their deaths, the dead do not want that. They are one with the Force and so they shall always be with us. Shakti comforted him. While she didn't like what the Order had become, she did believe that everything that dies returns to the Force. Naruto brightened up a little at that. Always knew how to cheer me up. He said as he chuckled a bit with Shakti smiling. She then reached into her sleeves and pulled something out. Here, I was able to recover it. She said as she pulled out his lightsaber. Naruto stared at it before he grabbed it, he hadn't seen it for a long time. Thank you, master. He said as he bowed one last time before he turned his attention to the other part. He turned to the droid. Translate this, droid. We have no need for your assistance. Once we have made our repairs, we will be out of your hair. Naruto said as the droid translated his words, and it seemed like the pink-haired princess didn't like it one bit. She started to speak and while she did, Naruto was starting to tap into the Force to understand what she was saying. He did it with the Zillo beast, he can do it again. I cannot allow you to leave, not after what everyone has seen now. The media and the foil hats are most likely going crazy with the knowledge of aliens being real, though I didn't expect some of those aliens to be humans, Cornelia stated. After what they had witnessed, she was sure that the military was going crazy with what they had seen. Massive warships dueling it out in the atmosphere of their planet, they were lucky that one had crashed onto the planet. The others were able to avoid the planet's gravitational pull. I care little for what your people might think or say. Your world is too young to be exposed to such technology. There was a reason why no one else has made contact with your little world. There are plenty of other worlds out there like yours, blissfully unaware of what lies in far reaches of space. Naruto said with authority, he was the Mandalore. He would show no weakness. Please, we can come to an agreement. Cornelia reasoned, surely there was something that this man wanted. Just then, a clone walked up to Naruto. Sir, scans of the planet show a high concentration of thorolite and vast reserves of hypermatter. The clone whispered as Naruto nodded and dismissed him. This changes everything. Thorolite is a prized commodity that is used as shock absorber for turbolaser cannons and starship manufacturing. The Republic has kept the mining industry on complete lockdown. That was also a reason why the Separatists couldn't just outbuild the Republic. Hypermatter was used to power warships. Both resources were very valuable to any empire. To this world, these resources would be useless, but to his empire, they would allow them to manufacture their own warships rather than capturing them. Plus, the fuel would also be a boost in their operational range. Maybe we can, but the terms will be on my conditions. The talks will occur on one of my ships, the pacifier. Naruto said as Cornelia narrowed her eyes. What do you mean talks? She questioned, surely, he would only be talking to her father's empire. Do not take me for a fool. I shall hold talks with all nations of this world. Naruto stated as Cornelia tightened her hands in a fist. I am afraid that I cannot. That was all she could say before she felt someone or something grip her by the throat and lifted her up a few inches. Princess Cornelia. One of the guards yelled as he looked at his princess, being choked by an unseen force. You should leave, or else I will reduce this planet to ashes. Naruto said as he stopped choking her. She fell to her knees and coughed before she looked up at him with fear. Who was this man? What was that strange power? She chose to leave with her guards, heading back to inform her father, if he was even there to listen to her. Are you sure that was wise? T questioned Naruto as they boarded the gunship. We need the resources that this planet provides, besides, we can use their armies to grow our own. The Republic has Kamino to produce more clones for them to fight in the war, and last I checked there was supposed to be a deployment of 4 million new clones. The Separatists have millions of droids and more counting. We however lack the manpower, but make up for it by attack in key sectors of the galaxy. However, that alone won't win us the war. I still haven't heard back from what the Republic wants right now. We took a vital planet from them, and I have yet to see what they will do. Naruto explained as T nodded. And if we need to win a prolonged war, we would need the manpower. She stated. Indeed, we do. Naruto said as the gunship landed and the doors opened. The two quickly boarded the gunship, which then took off, heading back to Naruto's command ship. You really think that these people will follow you? She questioned. Sometimes people's pride didn't allow them to follow others, more so if this world was divided and already at war. They will or they shall fall, Naruto answered rather simply as T frowned at that. You have changed, Naruto. You weren't this cold when you trained under me. What caused you to change? She questioned. Where was that sweet boy that always had that stupid grin on his face? She could see it in his eyes. He was hurt, but it was not a physical wound. It was during the Naboo crisis he began. He knew he was going to open a can of worms. On Coruscant. Satine, please. Padme pleaded, asking for her longtime friend to stop, but the former Mandalorian ruler wouldn't hear anything she had to say. Enough, Senator, you have already caused much upheaval in the galaxy, now leave me be. Satine stated. She clearly didn't want to hear anything Padme wanted to say. But this isn't my doing. Padme yelled as Satine turned to her, her anger boiling over. Really? So, it wasn't you who cheated on the man who now rules Mandalore and 2,000 other neutral systems by proxy? I did my homework. Naruto was one of the best Jedis, and many had high hopes for him. Odd that his behavior changed when the war began, clearly a result of your actions. You are the reason this is happening. It isn't Naboo that is waging a galactic war, it's Mandalore. Years of hard work to build a democracy and maintain peace and neutrality, washed away because of you. Now leave. Satine vented out her anger as she entered her chambers and locked the door behind. Padme sighed. Satine would spend all her time either in the Senate chamber or her own. Every day she would send messages to Mandalore, hoping that her supporters would oust the new Mandalore, but Padme knew that Satine wouldn't get through to them. Having troubles, I see. Anakin whispered as he hugged her from behind. She rolled her eyes and pushed him off. Now isn't the time, Anakin. This war is getting out of control. With the recent attack on Coruscant, the other core world leaders are afraid. They are calling it a bad omen, referring back to the previous sacking of Coruscant by the Mandalorians. Padme stated as she began to walk to the Senate chambers. The senators from the different worlds were digging up all sorts of ancient events to gain greater protection for their worlds. Attack? I wouldn't call that dumping of asteroids an attack. Anakin chuckled as Padme frowned. She turned around and gave him a glare. This isn't funny, Anakin. With this recent event, it is clear that Mandalore has the capability to attack Coruscant without our knowledge and long-range scanners. She reasoned as Anakin sighed. They were using civilian cargo liners to hide themselves. How were the scanners supposed to pick up that? Anakin questioned her. She looked at him as if he was crazy. Anakin, they used Republic codes to fool the scanners. No one was aware of those liners until they were in orbit. She stated as Anakin looked at her. This was news to him. That's bad, he said. Padme sighed again. Was this really the man that they called a brilliant strategist? Anyways, I have to deal with the Senate on a new bill. She stated as she left to reason with the Senate. Anakin could only look on. Maybe his actions might have had unseen consequences. But Naruto. Master, calm down. Naruto tried to calm T down as the force rolled off of her. How can you let that bitch get away with what she did? T questioned as everyone looked at her as if they were crazy. T was considered one of the calmest Jedis. Naruto shook his head. It doesn't matter, besides, you're going to kill someone. Naruto stated as he motioned towards the destroyed equipment. T looked around before she took a deep breath and calmed herself. Fine, but I want answers. She stated as Naruto nodded. Will do, but first we need to deal with our guests. Naruto said, referring to the many different leaders of this world that were on their way. A few minutes ago, he had sent gunships and a message for them. Attend the meeting or perish. They didn't have a choice. Sir, bad news, a droid warship just jumped out of hyperspace. A clone reported as everyone looked out the window to see a badly damaged droid frigate. Naruto hummed, it could prove useful. Send in the boarding parties and seize the ship. Naruto ordered. With a few repairs here and there, the droid ship would prove useful. Besides, he had a feeling that he would find something valuable on that ship. The entire crew was buzzing with activity. Crew members ran around, making sure everything was working effectively as intended. Armed guards were stationed. They were awed by the level of technology that the galaxy had to offer. In his mind, however, he didn't understand why such technologically inferior worlds were isolated. These worlds should be made aware of the galaxy that they inhabited, not made to wait till they reach an acceptable level of technology. Sir, the team sent to investigate the droid frigate has returned, and they returned with something quite valuable. A clone reported to him as Naruto nodded. Very well, I shall see what they had brought with them. In the meantime, lead our guests to the conference room. Naruto ordered as the clone nodded and did just that. Naruto meanwhile left to the lower hangar to find what they had found. Entering the lower hangar, he saw just what they had found. Well, if it isn't General Grievous. Naruto commented as he grinned a bit. There, before him, was the leader of the droid army, bound and heavily wounded. The droid general growled at him. Didi the general spat out, thoughts started to cough. Naruto shook his head. He could kill the general, but he was more valuable to him alive than dead. Not a GD general, I am Mandalore. However, I do wonder how you ended up in such a state. Could it have been the Republic or the Count that set you up? Naruto questioned, hinting to something. The wounded general narrowed his eyes. What was that supposed to mean? Mandalore or not, you're still a GD scum to me. With that, the general went into a coughing fit. Naruto however sighed and turned to the medical officer. Heal him, but make sure he doesn't escape. Naruto ordered as the officer looked at him as if he was insane. With all due respect sir, this is Grievous we are talking about. Killing him would bring the entire droid war machine to a halt. Why heal him? The officer questioned. Naruto turned to the officer. Because his hate is misguided. He has been manipulated, just like how this entire war has been the construct of a madman, Naruto answered. The medical officer raised an eyebrow, but nodded nonetheless, and went on to carry out his task. With them all gone, Shakti walked out of the shadows. Are you sure that was wise? She questioned him as he turned to her. Grievous was only trying to help his people, but was used by the Sith. His hate can be better directed towards the person made him into a machine. Naruto simple stated as he began to head off to greet his guests. T however was wondering what he meant by that. It was clear that her former student knew more than she or any other GD did. The Force does work in mysterious ways she thought. He might have seen visions or he could have a very impressive spy network. Regardless, he would go down in galactic history. The question is, will he go down as a tyrant or as a liberator? With Naruto. Naruto entered the conference room and already the guests were fighting among themselves. He turned to Rommel, who only sighed at the unasked question. They have been fighting like this for quite a while now. From what the droid can tell me, they are fighting over things that happened decades ago. Rommel answered as Naruto nodded and turned towards the guests. The one who caught his attention was a man in a strange dresser suit, or was it a costume? Regardless, he needed to quiet these people. So, he used a force and projected his power across the room. No one spoke a word, they were too terrified at the feeling they were getting. Naruto coughed in his hand, gaining their attention. Greetings, I am sure you all are confused as to why you have been brought here. Naruto started but was stopped as the representative from Britannia stood up. Forgive me for intruding, but what is a terrorist doing here? The representative, Prince Schneasel, questioned as he pointed towards the masked man, Zero. Zero stiffened up and looked straight at Schneasel. Perhaps our host is more courteous than you. Zero responded, he would not remain quiet in these talks. He was invited to this meeting, and all around him were high-ranking representatives from across the globe, yet he was invited. He didn't know why, but this was a good chance to observe his enemies up close. Who I invite is none of your concern. I have called you all here to submit to Mandalore. Your world shall become part of the Mandalorian Empire. A planetary government will be set up, one that will obey to the Empire. Naruto started and as soon as he started, the room broke into outrage. That's nonsense. One EU representative stated. The Chinese Federation will not give up its sovereignty. A Chinese representative stated. Naruto sighed as he looked around the room, all these politicians yelling at him, save for the prince and the masked man. Again, he projected his powers, silencing these fools. You have no choice but to join me. If it was the Separatists' alliance, they would have sent armies upon armies of droids to enforce their rule upon you. If it was the Republic, they would use espionage and regime change to make sure you joined them. I am being generous. I am allowing you to not only join my empire, but also gain security. However, I can be as merciless as them. If you refuse, my fleet will carry out orbital bombardments, reducing your nations into dusts. Naruto threatened and looked around, seems like they responded to fear more so. With the room quiet, he decided to go on. As to why the masked man, who calls himself Zero, was invited here. It is simple, I am going to break these empires and unions you have all created. From what my intelligence department has told me, you Zero are quite the character amongst rebel groups. Rebellion is something that I shall not tolerate in the Mandalorian Empire. Naruto started as a Britannian representative scoffed. That man is a traitor to the Empire. He should be hanged. The man yelled as Naruto had enough and started to force choke the man. Do not test me. I will kill a worm like you, and I can do it with ease. The first thing I am going to do is break your empire and free the areas. The Britannian Empire is corrupt to the core, the people suffer under the oppressive elitists. The EU is no different, with the elites having it all and the people left to suffer. Hell, the EU has grown weak due to their financial crisis. And the Chinese Federation. Ha. A nation of fat and lazy ballless chickens who only care about themselves. Naruto stated with no fear as the said representative somewhat frowned or glared at him. He let go of his chokehold on the man and looked around and nodded to himself. Good, now you all have 8 hours to decide the fate of your countries. You either submit or you face annihilation. Naruto gave the ultimatum. He was as merciless as he was merciful. He stood by as the representatives from each of the countries began to talk, well, more like shout. Some of the more reasonable voices, such as Schneasler Zero, who just stayed silent. Naruto observed, but was broken out of his thoughts when a clone officer walked in. Sir, we have a message from General Ayla Sakura. The clone officer reported as he pulled out a holodisc and turned it on. Ayla's hologram appeared before him and he could see that something was wrong. Ayla, what's wrong? Naruto questioned as she stayed silent before she looked at him. Naruto, the Separatist Alliance have attacked Rylith, she stated as Naruto's eyes widened. Rylith was her home planet and was initially liberated by the Republic, but it seemed like that the Separatists were committed to keeping Rylith. What about the Republic? Why wasn't the Republic there to defend Rylith? Naruto questioned, but deep down he knew why. The Republic fleets are stretched too thin, as part of your strategy. They have opted to secure more valuable systems in the inner and some mid-core worlds. Rylith was not on the list, she answered, knowing that Naruto would blame himself. Naruto balled his fists. He wanted nothing more than to simply beat back the Separatists from Rylith, but he knew he didn't have the numbers. A direct confrontation with the Separatist was suicidal, but the longer he waited, the more the people of Rylith suffered. Turning to the clone officer, he looked at him with determination in his eyes. I want you to round up as many transport ships and shuttles as you can. He ordered as the officer nodded and left the holodisc behind as he took off. Naruto, this isn't your fault, Ayla spoke up as Naruto looked at her. No, it isn't. I will free Rylith, but you and I both know that is impossible right now, but I promise you, I shall liberate Rylith, and Dooku shall pay for it. Naruto promised as she nodded. She knew that he would free her homeworld. Thank you. Also, the Republic wants to negotiate. She informed him as Naruto looked at her, a bit shocked at the news. Really? Well, can't say that's bad news, but they were quick to open talks of negations. Naruto replied. He hadn't expected the Republic to move this fast, but this was good. With the Republic off his back, he can turn his attention towards the Separatists. Well, your attacks on Republic supply lines and taking Tanab forced them to. Regardless, we need to respond to this declaration at once. She stated as Naruto nodded. Yes, tell them that Mandalore is open for negations. He ordered as she bowed and ended the transmission. Turning around, he began to leave the conference room to attend to more pressing matters. Making his way to the medical stations, he entered one of the chambers to find many clone guards and medical droids. In the center of it all was the infamous droid general, bound and restrained. The general's yellow eyes stared at him with hate and rage. Naruto, however, showed no emotions as we walked up to the general. So, the GD. The general began to speak, but was cut off as he felt his windpipe being constricted. The general, with all his might, looked up at Naruto. The said blonde man was currently choking the life out of the general. I have to say, Grievous, I am impressed. If you can resist, Naruto complimented him as Grievous growled, even though his constricted windpipe. I faced worse. Grievous yelled out as he started to cough and suck in air with greed. Naruto had let go of his hold. Tell me, Grievous, did Dooku send you to invade Rylith? Naruto questioned as Grievous looked up at him. No, he answered, choosing to answer his questions rather than resist. Right now, he was the prisoner and no one was coming to save him. No doubt that the Count was behind this. Then what are you doing here? Why is your ship damaged? Naruto questioned as he looked at the general, who growled. Dooku sent to meet up with a droid fleet, which would then carry out an invasion of Mandalore, but Grievous trailed off as Naruto nodded. There was no droid fleet, but rather a Republic one, wasn't there? Naruto questioned him as Grievous snarled. Yes, he answered as Naruto looked at him with a smirk. So, the Count betrayed you? He questioned him. The general said nothing. You were sent to by the Count to die. Naruto pressed further. Nothing, the general said nothing. Typically, this isn't the first time the Count betrayed you. Naruto spoke. That caught the general's attention. What do you mean? He questioned Naruto, who raised an eyebrow. What? You didn't know? This condition you're in, all this machinery, the unfortunate accident that led up to you being what you are. Naruto questioned as the general started to put the pieces together. The Count is the reason your people died. He is the reason you are what you are not, he is the reason you lost your loved ones. Naruto informed the general of the Count's betrayal. I'll kill him. I'll tear him from limb to limb. I'll reduce him to stardust. The general trashed and roared, cursing the Count, wanting to do nothing more than to kill him. The clones in the room readied their weapons. They were not going to risk him getting free. It took a while, but the general calmed down, though the rage was swimming in his sickly yellow eyes. Have you calmed down? Naruto questioned as Grievous looked at him with hate, but the hate wasn't directed against him, but rather the Count. I wish to make a deal with you, Grievous. Naruto spoke up as the general looked at him, slowly nodding him to continue. Naruto walked up to him and extended him a hand. The restraints on Grievous were released, allowing the general to feel his mechanical arms. Join me, and you can have your revenge against the Count and his master, Naruto offered as Grievous looked Naruto's hand and back up at him. He had nothing to lose, but everything to gain. Dooku and his master were deceivers, and they were going to pay for what they had done to him. Extending his hand, he shook Naruto's hand. Fine, but I will be the only to kill Dooku. Grievous stated. It was Dooku who he really wanted to kill, to rip him apart, to burn him and do so much more. Naruto smirked. Fine by me. Naruto replied, shaking his hand. The clones behind him stood down, but were ready for the general, if he attacked them that is. Naruto turned around and beckoned the general to follow. Grievous followed, with clones behind him. I know that the idea of commanding clones might seem foreign to you. Naruto stated as Grievous nodded. Commanding clones. Bah. Never had he thought that he was going to end up doing that. Regardless, now that you have joined, you will have to learn. Clones are more resourceful than the droids, but even they are only mortals. Just don't send wave of clones to their deaths. Naruto stated, it was a key tactic of separatist commanders to send wave after wave of droids, overwhelming their enemies with numbers. Quantity over quality. I know how resourceful clones are, I fought them and they have impressed me with their tenacity. The general praised the clones, even though that was the very thing he hated about them. He hated how the clones were brave, ready to die for their Jedi generals, willing to sacrifice their lives for others. Maybe it was because he didn't have soldiers like them, all he had was an army of droids. Good, then I think your transaction into the Mandalorian Empire would be quite smooth. Naruto stated as he walked into the conference, only to find the lot shouting and screaming at each other. Grievous looked at them and then to Naruto. It seems you have your hands full, I shall be in the hangar. Grievous stated as he quickly made his way to the hangar with his clone escorts. If there was one thing he hated the most, it was politics. He was a warrior, not a damn politician. Naruto however sighed, this was going to be hard. Word traveled fast about more defections from the Republic, most recently of 2 Jedi, Shakti and Ayla Sakura. This news was a serious blow to the Republic, as both took valuable information with them. However, the most pressing concern for the Jedi Order was that the people were beginning to question them. Was the Order even effective at what they did? Could they be trusted? These questions began to worry the Jedi. First, they had an expelled Jedi become a warlord, and now they had a master and a knight rebel as well. The faith in the Order was starting to crumble. However, today was different, for today would see negotiations between the Republic and the Mandalorian Empire. The Mandalore would arrive soon in order for the negotiations to begin. Most people hoped that the negotiations would go well, it seems that the Mandalorian Crusades were not forgotten after all. I don't like this at all. Anakin stated as he, along with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, stood outside the Senate chamber building by the docks. Many Jedi were stationed in or around the Senate building. They had to make sure everything went smoothly, as the previous talks with the separatists had ended with bombings. Like it or not, Anakin, our job is to ensure nothing goes wrong. Obi-Wan told his former student with a sigh. Recently, Anakin had pushed for the Republic to go on the offensive against Mandalore. His aggressive nature towards Naruto was starting to affect him. But he's a traitor. He not only killed his clone troopers, he now has many worlds under his rule. Anakin shouted as Obi-Wan sighed once more. Indeed, that was true, many worlds had opted to switch alliances and join the Mandalorians, even some of the separatist worlds. Not only that, but Mandalore initially commanded a league of 2,000 neutral systems, all of which were now part of the Mandalorian Empire. Almost overnight, large portions of the galactic map began to turn yellow, the color given to identify the Mandalorian Empire. A vast number of these worlds belong to the Outer Rim and the Mid-Rim. But Master, the Republic is already stretched too thin. We simply cannot afford to fight a war on two fronts. Ahsoka spoke up. She had been trying to find out more about the events that led up to Naruto's expulsion, but every time she thought she found something, it was dead end. She just knew that something was wrong. Well, whatever it may be, we can't undo it now. Here comes our guest of honor. Obi-Wan said with his humor clearly visible as the Mandalorian ship landed on the docks as the escort fighters pulled off. Clone guards were stationed near the ship and Chancellor Palpatine was there to greet the Mandalore, along with other senators, including Padme. The Mandalore soon walked out, flanked by his personal guards. "Greetings Mandalore, I welcome you to Coruscant." Palpatine welcomed the former Jedi with a smile, though internally he wanted to kill the man before him. This man alone had derailed so many of his plans. Naruto narrowed his eyes, but nodded. "Last time I was here, I was expelled." Naruto commented as he started to walk towards the Senate building, his guards following him, along with the old man and his group, though they were quite displeased by his blunt disregard of them. Now, let us see the drama inside," Obi-Wan said with a chuckle. He wasn't a fan of politics, but he did enjoy the drama it created. Anakin rolled his eyes and followed. Obi-Wan had a strange sense of humor. About an hour later. The Senate had just started, with Palpatine starting it off with recent tasks the Republic had to deal with before the subject regarding Mandalore was brought up. As you all know, recent events have forced the Republic to hold peace talk with Mandalore. The Mandalore himself has arrived to negotiate with the Republic. Palpatine stated, though he was seething in his mind. Decades of planning, washed down the drain by this expelled Jedi. No matter, he waited this long, he can wait a bit more. "Thank you Chancellor." Naruto, or as most knew him, Mandalore spoke up as his repulsor pod floated near the center of the Senate chamber. While Naruto knew of Palpatine and his plans, now was not the time. "First off, I commend the Republic for holding these peace talks. It truly shows the democratic ideals that the Republic upholds." Naruto thought he scoffed at that in his thoughts. The Republic was as corrupt as you could get. They were no better than the Separatists. "My name is Naruto, former member of the Jedi Order and Mandalore of the Mandalorian Empire. I have come forth to ensure that these peace talks are met with results that all parties may find beneficial." Naruto went on as another repulsor pod floated down. He looked at the senator and scowled behind his mask. "And what would you be offering?" Padme questioned as Naruto rolled his eyes. She was determined to get in his way at every path. Sighing to himself, he pressed a few buttons and at the center of the Senate chambers appeared a map of the galaxy with territories of the Republic, Separatists and the Mandalorian Empire outlined. As you are all aware, Mandalore has rapidly expanded and has gained valuable worlds key to the Republic. My offer is simple, the Republic and the Mandalorian Empire sign a non-aggression treaty. Mandalore will cease all hostilities with the Republic and the Republic will cease hostilities as well. Furthermore, Mandalore shall retain the territories it has conquered and the League of 2000 neutral systems shall be officially recognized as systems within the Mandalorian Empire. Naruto finished as shouting erupted. This was an outrageous offer. Not only did Mandalorian Empire get away with everything with this deal, their territory would dwarf the Republic's and the Separatists with 2000 neutral systems. That is unacceptable. The power balance would drastically be changed. Padme started but was stopped by Naruto. "So, this is about maintaining the Republic's power. Tell me, why is it that the Republic will not allow the Separatists to leave the Republic peacefully? After all, they only want their independence." Naruto questioned as she looked at him in shock. "The Separatist Alliance attacked the Republic and declared war. If they wanted to leave, talks could have been held." She stated as Naruto shook his head, how naive she was. Talks were held, but they didn't bear any fruits, so they took matters in their own hand, like how Mandalore and the 2000 League of Neutral Systems are doing. Naruto stated as some saw the logic behind this, but many called for war. The Republic demands that the Mandalorian Empire withdraw all forces from captured regions and the handover of the defectors. Padme stated. To the Republic, that was the only deal they wanted, even after Padme tried to change their mind regarding it. Naruto chuckled at that. No deal. He simply stated they wanted to disarm him. Padme looked at him in mild shock. Then you would have war between the both of us. The Mandalorian Empire might have warships, but you do not have capacity to keep them reinforced. Padme countered. While she wasn't the one to use military threat, she would have two in these times. Naruto once again chuckled. Is that what you think? Millions have volunteered to join the Mandalorian military, and the League of 2000 Neutral Systems is happy to supply us with warships and supplies. Furthermore, the Panterans have been building vast number of droid warships for the Mandalorian Empire. We can keep fighting this war and many more will die, or we can end it here. Naruto offered as his repulsor pod floated back to his balcony. He then made his way to his assigned room. He would let the Senate talk it out regarding his offer. As he entered, he spotted Chuchi waiting for him in his room. He raised his eyebrow. What was she doing here? Chuchi, what are you doing here? He questioned her as she jumped, a bit startled by him. Naruto. I was just coming to give you the reports regarding the new droid fleet. She said with a blush as she handed him a datapad. Couldn't you have, sent it to me via hologram? He questioned her as she gulped as she looked anywhere but at him. Naruto looked at her seriously now, something was wrong. He took off his mask and walked up to her and looked her dead in the eye. Chuchi, what's wrong? He questioned, but his close proximity to her caused her to faint, leaving a confused Naruto holding Chuchi. He heard a chuckle from behind him. Turning around, he spotted Bo with her armor and helmet on. What? He questioned as she shook her head. Man, he was denser than Durasteel. Naruto, are you really this dense? She questioned as he raised an eyebrow. What did that mean? She shook his head. She fainted when you got close to her, she shuddered around you, and she blushed around you, and couldn't even make eye contact. Now what does that mean? Bo questioned as Naruto frowned. Is she having an allergic reaction to me? He questioned seriously as Bo face palmed. By the force, how dense was this guy? Naruto, she likes you. Bo pointed out as Naruto's eyes widened as he turned to her as she blushed and looked away. Chuchi, is it true? He questioned as she shyly nodded, having just woken up. Yes, I have liked you ever since I first met you, she commented as Naruto was, again, left shocked. To think that Chuchi liked him since the day they met, that was before he had met Padme. He sighed as he closed his eyes and walked up to the window. What a fool I have been. To think I had someone so close to me without even realizing. Naruto commented while staring out into the massive city. Indeed, he was a fool. Touring around, he steeled himself. Chuchi, I know you like me, but I am already in a relationship with someone. Naruto started as Chuchi's eyes widened. She was too late a second time it seems. She heard Bo, Naruto's bodyguard, chuckle. Bo walked up to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry Naruto, you are in the clear. Bo commented as Naruto looked at her shock, while Chuchi looked confused. What are you talking about? Naruto questioned as his face reddened. Bo rolled her eyes. You can have her if you want, duh. I am perfectly fine with it. Bo answered as Chuchi's eyes widened again for a second time. Was she the one he was in a relationship with? Naruto coughed as he caught her attention. Seeing how Bo here is so open about it, I guess I can give it a chance. I can't say the feeling is mutual, but we can try. Naruto stated, and immediately he was tackled by the senator. Thank you. Chuchi stated with tears in her eyes. Naruto sighed softly and merely ruffled her hair. Well, I like that you got the man you wanted, the Senate has come to a decision. Bo spoke up, actually, the Senate had come to a decision long ago, and she just wanted to hook him up. She realized that she alone could never fill the hole in his heart. The betrayal of his first love had left him damaged, damage that would take time to heal. Senate chamber. Once again, he found himself in the Senate chambers. His pod floated towards the center as the Senate calmed down. Then, Palpatine stood up to speak on the Senate's behalf. The Senate, after a long and lengthy discussion, has agreed to your terms. However, the matter of the Jedi that betrayed the Order still stands. The Order would like you to hand them back. Palpatine stated. It took every fiber of his being to not leap forward and slice that damn Mandalore. Years of planning, years of hiding in the shadows, years of plotting the Jedi's downfall wasted. Bah. He had to deal with that incompetent Gungan. What was his name? Jar something. While I am grateful that the Senate has agreed to my terms, the two former Jedis left of their own accord and are now citizens of the Mandalorian Empire. If the Order thinks otherwise, then they can try, on the battlefield. Naruto stated as everyone gasped. They had just achieved a peace treaty and he was already raising the tension. Seeing their reaction, Naruto scoffed. The Jedi Order, as you all have come to know, has fallen. The Order was established to maintain peace in the galaxy, not to train Jedi generals that would wage war. They have lost sight of who they are. The old masters would be rolling in their graves if they saw what has become of their order, and I am not talking about being war leaders, but rather the overall practices. Naruto stated, leaving the Senate confused. Seeing their confusion, he decided to push on. The Jedis of the past used emotions to protect the galaxy. After all, one's passion to protect is what drives them forward against all odds. The Jedis of today say that such emotions are a path to the dark side, and yes, such emotions are, but only if they are compromised. If one can control their emotions, then one can fight off the dark side. However, the Jedis now seek to eradicate all forms of emotions. How can they protect the galaxy if they can't even understand the people? I'll say it again, the Jedis have become weak and sloppy in terms of their original objective and tenets. Controlling one's emotions is harder than suppressing. Naruto stated as his pod retreated back, leaving quite a few Jedis offended or a bit enlightened by his words. In the end, he got what he came here for, now it was time to leave. However, as soon as his pod made it back, one of his guards approached him. "My lord, we have a problem." The guard whispered as Naruto raised an eyebrow. He gestured for the guard to go on. "There has been a rebellion in the Siege system." He whispered as Naruto narrowed his eyes. "So, they chose to resist. No matter, he will crush this little rebellion with an iron fist." "Well then, we know our next destination then," Naruto commented. "Time to teach those backwater inhabitants that one does not simply defy the Mandalore and get away with it." So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys, let me know in the comment section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.